Hey all, it's me, your hostess Liberty, and today we're doing something a little different to my usual. Recently, the RPG Maker Game Jam was held, and I'm taking part as one of the judging panel. Yay! We talked about it behind the scenes, and it was agreed that streaming or recording our playthroughs of the various entries was allowed. So, I decided that I will record the various entries that I get to play and judge, and present both a video and general summary of each entry to the developers to enjoy. Now, I will not be talking about any part of the scoring process itself on video, only my reactions to the game and any feedback I may think of during the playtime. This means that there may be cuts here and there that you notice because I started going off track, started yapping a bit longer, and need to cut that part out. Anyway, this is as good a statement of intent as any, so let's jump into the game! Hey guys, it's me, and it's time for another game. Always dash, always on. Let's clock in to a Bureaucrat's Judgement. Titan Industries. Vigilance, obedience, austerity. Coffee! Martin stepped out into the rain, clutching his umbrella. He was running late. He hoped the bus was similarly behind schedule in the soggy morning. Commute to work. Goal. All dice above 1. Challenge 1-6. Roll the dice and see how Martin's luck pans out. Achieving the goal results in basic success. Alternatively, risk the challenge for even better results. Failing a check is not the end. Fail forward. Okay, so roll. I got a 6. This is a simple luck check. Martin's luck competency is 2. This means he can re-roll a die 2 times after the initial roll. Checks will use different competencies. Martin may find items that influence them. Martin rolled a 6-5-5. Keep results. Commute to work. All dice above 1. Challenge 6. Exceeded expectations. Martin saw the bus approaching. He exhaled. He'd made it. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a shimmer. He looked down and saw a pen lying in the gutter. He picked it up. It was a little worse for wear, but still functioning. Martin acquired the gutter pen. Items can be equipped in the menu. Pens offer special abilities for influencing the initial roll. Other items increase Martin's competencies. Martin shook water off the umbrella as he stepped into the office. Piper was already at the front desk and waved eagerly. "Good morning, Martin." He gave a half wave back. Move with arrows or WASD, interact with enter or space, open menu with escape, gamepad is working. Pen with chewed cap. Automatically subtracts 1 from each die on initial roll? Why would I use that? Alrighty. Yeah, I'm not wearing the gutter pen. "Good morning, Martin," Piper calls in her chipper voice. "I'm sure you have a lot on your plate today, but I could use some help if you can spare a minute." "What do you need?" Martin asked. "The fridge, it needs cleaning out, and it'll go a lot faster if we work together." Martin shuddered. The office fridge certainly did need cleaning, but he was an educator. Was cleaning a good use of his time? "We'll help." Martin agreed to help. They headed for the break room. The fridge loomed large and ominous before them, its motor humming insolently. Piper looked to Martin and gulped. They nodded and set upon it. Total under 12. Challenge all odd. Alright, under 12, eh? Got a pen? I found why you need you. Alright. You rolled a 1-5-5. Oh! That's perfect. Clean the fridge. 155, that's 7. All odd, yes. Exceeded expectations. Bully for me. It is weird that it rolled when I just changed the thing. It's a bit weird. Instead of going back to the loop and then choosing. So I guess there's something weird with that branch. The fridge was spotless, emptied of its grim contents. They looked upon the work they had accomplished together proudly. Piper held a crumpled tie. I found this in the freezer. I don't have any use for it, but seems a shame to toss it out. Martin raised an eyebrow. Why was a tie in the freezer? Still, it was a fine tie, and in good enough shape. One could never have too many ties. He took it off her hands. Martin acquired a green paisley tie. One can get lost in that pattern. Increases service competency. Ooh. Wait. Get out of here. Yeah. Alright. In the top cabinet, Martin found a first aid kit. Never bad to have that on hand. Oh. A filing cabinet full of pending work. Martin dreaded it arriving on his desk. A photo of the new Prime Minister loomed above. Banners were a new installment mandated by the popular will. Vigilance, obedience, austerity. The Vice Office of Analytics' second namesake. Hardly sounded popular to Martin. The umbrellas dripped into the bin. Martin couldn't recall the last sunny day they'd had. Damn, this place is shit. So, what did I get? First aid kit. Always useful in an emergency. Increases collaboration. Alright, cool. Isaac's desk. Former desk, more accurately. His voice had boomed through the entire office. It had been impossible not to listen. Now, Martin found he missed it. He noticed something beneath the desk. Martin kneeled down and reached under the desk. He pulled out a small squishy ball. Oh, a stress ball maybe? Yeah, Isaac's stress ball. He could recall the veins bulging on Isaac's forehead whenever he was dealing with a difficult case. Stress ball! Heck yeah! Ooh! Increases service competency. Technical representation service. Communication and luck. Interesting. Julia's desk, the other survivor of the office purge. She always arrived as late as allowed. Martin wondered just how two of them could keep up with the workload. Shelves filled with policy, regs, and a few books on management style. Martin stood before the staff lockers, each with a name affixed. No one had bothered to remove the tags on Roland and Isaac's. Martin noticed his government ID laying on top of his lunchbox. He'd been looking all over for it this morning. Julia's locker was locked. It was completely empty. Martin looked over Roland's locker. At first it seemed empty, then he noticed a pair of reading glasses in the back. Martin took them. Maybe he could return them to Roland. Roland's cube, empty now of Roland's kitsch and clutter. Roland had been a new hire who had proudly announced his vote for the popular will. His termination notice came a week after they took power. Martin noticed a pen sitting on the shelf in the cubicle. He took it. Roland won't be needing it now. Ooh, a jotter, huh? Adds 1 to each roll. Interesting. Martin looked proudly at the now clean fridge. Maybe he'd even start bringing his lunch again. The office coffee pot was nearly empty with yesterday's coffee. Martin dumped it out and started a fresh batch. Martin looked above the sink of the picture. It was a painting of a girl in a red hood, halberd in hand, standing before a grave-looking king. Martin wasn't sure when it had been hung or by whom, but it felt distinctly out of place for an office. Is this... Okay. Red hood with halberd. I think I know this game. I think. It's based around Little Red Riding Hood. But you go hunting wolves as and it's very pink. It's a really good little game. If this is made by the same devs, it shows a lot of variety in the devs' creative circuits. Question mark. In their ability to create different visual looks, because holy shit, that game was real. That was peak. Very good. Can't remember what it was called. I'm terrible at naming games unless they stick in the memory. This one didn't stick, but I did enjoy it. Anyway, yeah, it was a good little game. Martin arrived at his desk. The dreadful pile of paperwork seemed to have doubled overnight. I guess it's time to get in. First in, first out, Martin thought to himself. Martin pulled the top file off his desk, a budget analysis from the Office of Budget Oversight on the Erie Apartments. A sticky note on it read ambiguously, top priority management. He took a sip from his coffee mug and spat it back. Yesterday's cold coffee. There was no helping it. He'd best start looking over the budget reports. What was the best approach? Focus on the details, focus on the big picture, wing it. Okay, the OBO's budget analysis. You want to look at the details of the budget, don't you? Okay, all dice under 5, total above 13. Best to wade into the weeds. These details will be key to understanding the case. Okay, change item. Let's try that. Okay. Okay. Reroll the 6. I'm gonna fail this one. Below expectations. His desk phone rang. Martin looked up at the clock. 9:01 a.m. Office was open to the public. He picked up the receiver. Piper's voice chirped. Ms. Reyes would like a word with you. She's a resident at the Erie Apartments. From the Erie? That didn't bode well. Martin replied, go ahead and send her back. Hi, ma'am. He watched the woman approach, anxiety carved on her face. She clutched a flyer in one hand. He greeted her, introduced himself, and offered her a seat. What can I do for you, Miss Reyes? Please, just Lucia. Thank you for seeing me. I think there's some mistake. We received this notice that the Erie is being closed down. She extended the flyer towards Martin. He glanced over it. Notice to all residents, this property is being closed. Vacate by Friday. Thank you. Vice Office of Analytics. Another piece clicked into place for Martin. Voa, he frowned and looked up at Lucia. How should he respond? Voa had gone over the housing authority's head on this, but it appeared he'd be the one who'd have to deal with it. Okay. Discuss her options. It may be a mistake, Miss Reyes. Sorry, Lucia. Let me explain the situation and then we'll see what the best option is. Time to see what he'd taken away from a review of his budget analysis. Okay, change items. Yep, and we want sure and service. Challenge 3 6s, all dice under 4. Yeah, that's not going to happen. All dice under 4. We'll re-roll the 5. Under 4. There we go. The ancient resident. Achieved expectations. Yay! Martin listed off the various stats and figures detailed in the report. Lucia shifted uneasily as he peppered her with all the costs associated with her residence. As Martin finished, Lucia waited a moment before she said, I don't know if I'll follow those numbers, but we're more than that. We're people too, like you. Martin's job was to serve the public. He needed to be clear about where the situation stood. Martin paused a moment and said, I understand this is a difficult situation. I wanted to try and explain first why the Erie has been slated to close. Now let's talk about your options. First, the notice comes from VOA, not the Housing Authority. We haven't signed off on a closure plan, so for the moment you can disregard it. We'll make sure that you get the proper notice of any decision we make. Martin opened the drawer and continued speaking as he dug through the papers. Secondly, you and any other residents can file Form 118B, Request for Reconsideration, in response to any action we take. He handed her a couple of copies of the form. Don't submit this until you get a formal notification from us first, though. Lucia nodded and took the forms. Martin continued, I know this is stressful, but for now, there is nothing you need to do. I'll be looking over this case and notify you as soon as we reach a decision. Lucia gave a half smile and stood up. I appreciate your time. Please, before you decide anything, come visit the Erie. Meet the people. See what the Housing Authority's subsidiary means to our community. Martin replied, I plan to do just that, Miss Reyes. A building inspection is required before any final adjudication. It should be by tomorrow. Alright, that was a nice little thing. Martin looked back down at the budget report on his desk and top priority memo. VOA was behind this. While it was true the Housing Authority had actual jurisdiction, felt like the decision had already been reached. For the moment, he needed to stretch his legs. Hey, Juliet. Julia looked at Martin. Hey, I overheard your conversation with that woman. Did VOA really issue an eviction order? Martin nodded. Seems so. Julia exclaimed, That's absurd. Who do they think they are? Martin looked over his shoulder. Julia continued, now hushed. You're right. I should keep my voice down. One of those VOA goons is in with management right now. But it's just absurd what they're doing. Martin agreed. It's frustrating. I don't know what I'm going to do with this Erie case. I don't know if there is any other option other than to rubber stamp the eviction. Julia gave a strained look. It's like they want to do our jobs without actually knowing what we do, and also they don't actually want to do our jobs. She looked past Martin and turned towards the window and said loudly, Looks like the rain slowed down. Martin took the cue. Sure does. Softer again, Julia said, Hey, I think I'll grab a drink after work. You should join me. Martin responded, Yeah, that might work. Let's see how the rest of the day goes. Julia gave a sharp nod. Back to it. As Martin approached, Piper flagged him. Management wants to see you. Martin nodded. Now they wanted to talk. Come in, said a voice through the door. Martin entered the office. His manager, Dana, sat at the desk looking down. In the corner, another man, barely more than a teen, reclined against a shelf, a smug look on his face. You wanted to see me? Martin said. Dana looked up. Ah, yes, Martin, how's the work coming? Always so busy around here, isn't it? Yeah, always more to do. I assume you wanted to talk about the Erie case? Martin said. The Erie case? That doesn't immediately come to mind, but we can talk about it if it's on yours, replied Dana. The man in the corner spoke. Oh yes, I assume that closure can be wrapped up with no issue. I'm not sure closure is the appropriate action. I don't see how it aligns with policy. Policy, came the reply, drenched with irony. Policy is the whole problem with you government types, always hiding behind it so you don't have to work. He continued, You've seen the OBO analysis? This project is the definition of waste, dumping hundreds of thousands a year into some building so degenerates don't have to work. There's a mandate. The people are done with these handouts to those who drink from the government faucet, so you should be asking yourself, are you with the people's will or against them? I'm with the people. Good, so figure out the policy and get it done, the man replied. Martin nodded and looked at Dana. Anything else you need to say? I'm with the people. Anything else you need to see me for? No, I think you're doing great work. Keep it up. Martin turned to leave when the man in black added coyly, "Oh, and be sure to report any fraud or waste you see around the office. We need to know who's on board. Remember, friend, vigilance, obedience, austerity." Oh, VOA. I just nod. Get fucked. Martin spent the rest of the day reviewing the Erie file and closure policies. Tomorrow he would need to conduct a property inspection. Finally came time for him to clock out. Julia called to him as he passed by. Yeah, let's meet Julia." "See you there," Martin replied. He headed home, showered, and left to meet Julia. "See you there," Martin replied. He headed home, showered, and left to meet Julia. Martin descended the stairs into the cool basement. The lamp was a dim, mildewy cellar which slightly made up for its dungeonesque atmosphere by having a decent selection of craft beer. At the end of the bar he could see Julia sitting, glowing in the eponymous light of a street lamp that the owner had somehow smuggled down here. The man was clearly drunk. He grabbed Martin's hand and pressed a thin wooden object into it, slurring, "Looks like you need this more than me." Martin pulled away and looked at the object he held, a pencil. He offered it back to the man, who shook his head. A painting of a comet streaking over a ruin, it's titled "Coming Soon." Martin reflected on the picture. He wasn't sure he understood it. The man was hitting on the bartender. As you do. Change the results of one die to a random number. Interesting. Julia looked up at Martin and waved to the seat across from her. "I took the liberty of ordering us a picture." Martin took a seat and poured himself a glass. After a minute of small talk, Julia leaned in and said, "This VOA situation is a problem, right?" "A major problem. VOA was making decisions without consulting the people who had to do the work, and on top of that, downsizing the workforce itself. This Erie situation was only the tip of the iceberg." Martin groused about what they were doing to the Erie, how he felt he had no choice but to go along. Julia listened, observing him carefully. After he finished, she took a sip of her beer, then said, "Let's do something about it." "How likely is it that she's a plant?" "But what could be done?" "Okay. Brainstorm. 3 of any kind, all over 3. 2 heads were greater than 1. Okay, let's change that to add 1. Collaboration. Alright. 3 of any kind. Okay. Let's re-roll the 2. Let's re-roll the 4. God damn it. They dove into brainstorming, but found themselves talking over each other and disagreeing on the best course. The pitcher was still half full when Julia threw up her hands and said, "It's a good enough start." Martin agreed. He was tired. Julia looked at him and said, "Just so we're clear on this plan, if I'm to leak a story to my friend in the press, you've got to get me something useful during your inspection." The conspirators split the tab and headed to their respective homes. Martin awoke, rose from bed and got dressed. He would head to the Erie today to do his inspection, but first he needed to pick out an outfit for the day. Okay. Martin looked into his dresser to find a good outfit for the day ahead. Ooh, cardigan? Service representation. I think communication would probably be best. That could work. Martin had too many books that he planned to read. Would there ever be a time? He pulled off the shelf Public Speaking, a primer. That could come in handy. Where's my... Okay, I can wash my hands, but where's the actual bathroom? In the entryway, 2 paintings hung. A grim-looking painting of a strange shadowy shape rising from the ground, an old castle barely visible over a starless sky. Above the counter had hung a couple of paintings, a train approaching a station shrouded in moonlight, a flame burning brightly in the darkness, a cat, dog, spirit and robot embarking on an adventure. He grabbed a snack. Are these all references to games? I feel like they may be. He grabbed a snack bar to go from the pantry. Martin didn't want to take time to cook anything today. The fridge was kept in slightly better condition than the office's. Still, he didn't want to look inside. The fireplace needed cleaning out before it could be used. The paper was open to the classified section. Martin had circled several job postings in different colours. Martin picked up the pen that lay on top of the paper. We got a multi-pen! Woo, yeah! What's that do? Can change the results of one die to an even number. Interesting. Martin's trusty umbrella. Head to the Erie. Martin headed out into another rainy day. Martin strolled up to the Erie. The old structure built decades past, its thick concrete slabs remembering a distant era. Martin couldn't recall if he had ever been to District 7 before, a side of the city best forgotten. The inspection was mandatory, but policy was vague on what exactly inspection entailed. He looked down the block and said about it. Butterfly was tagged on the wall next to the words resist. Martin made a note. The graffiti had once read repent, but someone had written over the second half paint. Martin chuckled and made a note. Martin carefully stepped around the trash bags. The smell of rotten emanated. He scratched a note on his pad. Devils was the name of a prominent street gang infamous in District 7. Martin noted the woman smoking next to the no smoking sign. Martin noticed the surveyor surveying the Erie. Okay. Okay, let's put the multi-pen on. I've got my green paisley tie. And we want... we don't really have anything for... well, we do actually. Alright. All threes or fours? They need to be all... keep the results. I don't know how this is going to work. Do we go for the challenge? Okay, so the goal is all even, right? But the challenge is... okay. Okay, I still got the exceeded even though I got an odd in there. The surveyor looked up at Martin. He began volunteering complaint after complaint. His bosses at Titan Industries had plans for a factory on this site, and so the building needed demolished as soon as possible. Needed to be demolished, or demolishing as soon as possible. So he was getting soaked. It seemed he was content to continue talking, but Martin felt he'd heard enough and wrapped up the conversation. He made a note about the Titan Industries and demolition plan. Martin approached the officer. He seemed to be keeping an eye on the surveyor. Move along, nothing to see here. Struck up a conversation. All odd, all threes or fours. Okay. They're all odd. That's good enough. Martin rolled 511. Achieved expectations. Martin slipped under the building awning next to the officer and said, "This rain never lets up, does it?" The officer didn't seem opposed to some distraction. In their brief conversation, he let slip that VOA had asked his boss to post him here for the day. More VOA meddling. Interesting. Martin wished him well and made note of the information. The door to the corner store was locked. Okay, interesting. Faint smell of gas lingered around the pipe. Overfilled trash can, a rabbit's foot, Chomsky sat on top of the pile. Mom picked it up carefully. Maybe it hadn't brought its last owner luck, but it seemed a shame to let it go to waste. Okay. Alright, let's head on in. Martin entered the Eyrie. Its walls and floors were cracked with disrepair. He wondered what had become of all the government credits paid to the building's owner. He made a note on the state of the building. As Martin stepped into the main hall, a handful of youths gathered there looked up at him. The oldest looking of them stood up from his perch on the stairs and moved towards Martin. Martin instinctively tensed and took a slight step back. The youth cocked his head slightly and smiled. He took another step forward, extending his hand. "Martin, don't stress, we're here to meet you." Shake his hand. The youth clasped Martin's hand firmly. "I'm Bernard. Lucia told us you'd be coming. Welcome to the Eyrie. It's not much to look at, but it's home." "Martin, but I guess you already knew that," Martin replied. "Lucia was hoping to talk to you. I'll take you up if you're ready." "I'd like to look around first." "I'll just take a quick look around this floor first." "Okay, let me know when you're ready." Bernard returned to sitting on the stairs. Alright. Martin felt it better to avoid the trash pile. The youth acknowledged Martin with a slight head nod, giving no indication that they were interested in further conversation. Cracks on the walls. There's a trash pile. The youth acknowledged Martin with a slight head nod. Okay. The hallway extended a bit further, looking much the same. Martin felt he had the gist. Alright. Nothing much here. Let's go. Martin looked into the studio, his eyes drawn to the plants. It was rare to see greenery in the city. Lucia made apologies for the run-down nature of the room. Bernard casually poured himself a cup of tea. "Want a cup?" he asked. Martin declined. Turning to Lucia, he said, "So you wanted to speak with me?" Lucia says, "I wanted to show you our community. This place might not look like much, but I think you'll see there's more here." Eyrie inspection. Total under 7, challenge 3 threes. Okay. Let's change our items. Under 3. Alright. Total under 7, so I want to re-roll the 5. Ooh. Should I re-roll the 1 and hope for 3 threes? Or should I re-roll... Okay. Let's go with it. Let's try it again! Shit. Below expectations. Okay, go ahead. Tell me about this so-called community, Martin said. Lucia's face brightened. "Have you been to District 7 before?" Martin shook his head. "Not that I can recall." We come up in the news a lot. Shootings, theft, trash, poverty," Lucia continued. "They say no one chooses to live in District 7. It's where those who fall out of society end up. And that may be true. I didn't choose to live here. You, the housing authority, placed me here. This building is falling apart, but when I arrived in this country with nothing, it was a roof above my head, and it's become my home. I could afford to leave now. I've got a job and a little savings." Martin interjected. "Wait, so you're still taking the subsidy to live here when you don't need it? That's not how this is supposed to work. Have you been filing accurate accountability statements?" Lucia hesitated. "My forms are accurate. I'm not rich. The subsidiary is still essential to me. I just meant I think I'm getting to a place where I might be able to get by without it. That's not what's at stake. What's at stake is the community. We take care of one another here. Closing this place will cause so much more than individual harm." Martin looked around the tiny little room full of life. He turned to Lucia. "Thanks for sharing with me." Lucia replied, "I know it might not matter for your decision, but I wanted you to know how your decision will affect us." Martin turned to leave. Lucia asked, "And the closure, is it going to happen?" "I've got a plan to stop it." Martin outlined the plan he and Julia had arrived at. Lucia laughed. "We tried that plan already. We've told the media. No one has shown any interest, but maybe coming from someone like you, they'll listen." Martin replied, "We're going to try. You're not in this alone." Lucia smiled. "If you help save this building, you'll be a part of our community too." Seeing the time, Martin hurried back to the office. Martin arrived to the office. He shook off the umbrella. Piper was at the front desk and waved, "Good afternoon, Martin." He gave a half wave and mumbled a reply. Martin avoided making eye contact with the client sitting in the office. He'd leave Piper to answer the public's general questions. "Good afternoon, Martin. Oh, and I got you this little magnet. Thanks again for help with cleaning the fridge." "Oh, a cutesy fridge magnet. What's it do?" "It gives me collaboration points." Yay. Okay. Julia's not at her desk. So a small pocket calculator. Alright. I don't know if those make much of a difference. Martin opened the fridge and saw it to see how it was holding up. He stared in disbelief for a moment, then reached inside and withdrew a strip of cloth. Another tie? Seriously, who was putting ties in there? Well, finders keepers, he thought as he took the tie. I'm being technical today, I guess. Alright. Work on the area report. Martin set about writing up his notes from the Erie inspection. He would still need to talk with the building owner, but there wasn't much more needed to finish up a report and issue a decision. He'd been at it for some time when he heard the door management open, saw Julia step into the hall. Seemed like a good excuse to take a break. "Hey Julia, sup?" Martin approached Julia. She looked tired. "Hey Julia, everything okay?" She looked at him blankly for a moment before smiling. "I'm okay. Let's meet up at the lamp after work. We can talk more there." The door to management opened again, and Dana's voice called down the hall. "Martin, you're finally in. A word, please." "Sure, coming." Martin called back without much enthusiasm. Julia shrugged. "Good luck." Martin was back in the office. Dana seemed to cower at his desk while the VOA agent loomed in the corner. "You wanted to see me again?" Martin asked. Dana looked up. Yes, we are. I just wanted to check in on that Erie case. Got that decision finalized yet?" Martin replied, "It's getting there. I completed the building inspection this morning." Good, Dana replied. The man in the corner spoke. "So, can you sign off on it today? This should be your top priority." Martin started to reply, but the man cut him off. "You know, there's a place in this government for those who show dedication. Advancement opportunities even. We're not monsters. I know all you government folk think we are, but we're just doing our part to build a more efficient government. We're paying attention to those who help bring it along." Martin replied cautiously. "Erie has my full attention." "Splendid," the VOA agent smiled broadly, then added, "One other thing, and then I'll let you get back to it. You'll be sure to report any fraud, waste management, mismanagement, or any other potential security violations around the office, right?" Martin felt his chest tighten. Could VOA be onto him and Julia? He tried to calm himself. Of course not. They had only planned the night before. This wasn't some totalitarian country with secret police everywhere. Not yet, at least. Right? He had to offer some response. Of course, vigilance, obedience, austerity. The man looked him over, then shrugged. "Vigilance, obedience, austerity. I look forward to seeing that closure finalized." There's nothing more said, and Martin left the office and returned to his desk. He finished writing up his notes. Decision time loomed. He still needed to speak with the building owner, but today it was time to clock out. Martin headed to the lamp to meet up with Julia. Martin returned to the lamp. Julia was already there. The couple were arguing about video game design. Weird. "Hi," the bartender said. "I'm sorry, I overheard you and your friend talking yesterday." Martin shifted uncomfortably. "Don't worry," the bartender continued. "I won't say anything. Go to the trade. But I think what you're trying is good. Here, this is on me." She handed him a tiny bottle. "Thanks," Martin replied. "Got a shot of courage." A man in a trench coat and bowler hat stood opposite Julia. He stopped speaking as Martin approached. "It's okay," Julia said. "This is my co-worker, Martin." She turned to Martin and said, "This is my reporter friend. I hope you got something good for him." "I'm eager to hear what you found. I'll do everything I can to protect you as a source. But you should understand that there's always a risk to these sorts of things." The reporter pulled out a notepad and looked at Martin. "Press conference. Roll above 13. Challenge. All under 3. This is so fucking bullshit. Present everything known. Luck. Workshop a compelling story together. Collaborate. Present a case for housing authorities role." The 3 of them could work together and figure out what story best notes. Okay. Change my items. We want ads. We want collaborations. So where's my cutesy fridge magnet? Yeah. Judgement immediately increases all dice by 1. So 13. Alright, let's re-roll the 3. Oof. Re-roll the 3. There we go. Achieved expectations. The 3 reviewed Marvin's notes and discussed directions the story might go. The journalist nodded his head thoughtfully at last. "Good stuff, this might work." The 3 shared a drink. The reporter said he'd keep them in the loop on any publication. "Let me know if you get anything more, of course, and if it's possible for me to see a copy of the report, that'd be stellar. I know it's a risk, though." Martin nodded. He was feeling tired and left the pair to reminisce about the past. He headed out into the rainy night and to his home. Martin awoke, rose from bed and got dressed. He would need to speak with the property owner for the Erie property, and then he could finish up the case. Martin looked into his dresser and found a good outfit for the day ahead. Okay, so, representation today. That could work. 1 book at a time. Toilet. Hand washing. Martin noticed a tie sticking out from behind the shelf, so that's where it had gone. It got the red power tie. Today is a red power tie kind of day. And representation. We've got our government ID. Yeah, there we go. We are representing. It was raining outside. What a surprise. Do some shopping this week. Didn't have time to do breakfast. Fridge was kept in slightly better condition. Fireplace cleaned out. Read the headlines. It's time to go. Out into another rainy day. Martin stepped into the high-rise lobby of Allion Properties. The company was registered in the Housing Authority's records as the property owner of the Erie. He'd need to speak with Urza Allion to resolve that last policy task for the case. The young receptionist was dressed more for the club than the corporation. She didn't look up from polishing her nails as she said, "Martin O'Meary, Mr. Allion is expecting you. Take the elevator." Strange, Martin thought. He hadn't scheduled an appointment. From his experience, it was better to catch these property managers unaware. It seemed he would be at a disadvantage. Because that fucker is doing fucky stuff. I bet. "The elevator, top floor," she said without looking at him. Martin pressed the elevator button and waited. The elevator doors opened to a luxurious office. The city skyline extended beyond its wall of windows. Urza Allion sat behind a massive mahogany desk. Martin noticed an exquisite golden pen sitting on the desk. "Marty," the man called out. "You don't mind if I call you Marty?" Marty, in fact, did hate being called Martin. Martin, in fact, did hate being called Marty, but Urza didn't pause for an answer. "It's good of you to come and check in. Our mutual friend said I'm one of the few loose ends you need to sort." Consider it sorted then, Marty. See how easy things can be? Urza laughed. Martin started to interject, but Urza continued. That Erie sure is a dump, isn't it? Glad to have that off my hands, as much as I'll miss those government credits. But all things must pass, am I right? Another second of pause before. So, Marty, glad you dropped by. Always a pleasure. Be safe out there. I do have a few questions. Oh, I thought everything was sorted. But of course, go ahead. Ask away. I'm an open book. Martin wanted to know about the state of the building and where the government's money had been going, if not to repairs. Beyond what he wondered about the role of VOA and Titan Industries in all this, not pressing was the demolition plan was the Erie. He knew that Urza would be cagey. He'd have to broach subjects carefully. Questioning Urza. Schmooze. Flex your authority. Yeah, I'm flexing my authority. 2 5s. 3 of any kind. Urza had obligations he was required to fulfill with the housing authority. Martin could pressure him into answering. Alright. I think... let's just ball it. Okay. Let's re-roll the 3. Okay, that's a 5. Let's re-roll the 6. Might as well. We got our 2 5s. We might as well just re-roll the 6. Until we get a 5 or the end. Alright. Achieved expectations. Nice. Martin explained that, as the one writing up the report, he needed to have a clear picture of the situation before VOA reviewed it, to ensure nothing problematic would cause a scandal. Urza winked. I getcha, Marty. Your name's on it and you'll go down first. If, for example, it turned out the funds the government had been doling out weren't being used as contracted, that'd be a bad look for the housing authority. He continued, or say a big corporation like Titan had come in and made a deal to buy up the land and evict the residents. He concluded, especially if, say, that big company had the backing of the new administration, and any scandal could fall back on them. You, Marty, would be the scapegoat, no doubt. It was vague enough not to be an outright admission, and clearly a threat was veiled in the statements, but it did confirm Martin's suspicions. Martin felt he had got all he would out of the property owner. As he turned to leave, he glanced once at the golden pen on the desk. Urza smiled. Quite the specimen, isn't it? You know, Urza continued, seems like it would suit someone of your talent and ambition more than me. The perfect pen for writing up such an important and sensitive report. Here, it's yours. I couldn't possibly take your pen. Martin was sure that accepting the pen was against government ethics. Sure, VOA had already gutted the ethics office, but that didn't mean the rules weren't there for a reason. Wrong there, buddies. He wouldn't accept the obvious bribe. Martin ignored the offer and headed for the elevator. Martin took the elevator down and left the building. Appreciate the offer, but no thanks. Martin stepped into the office, shaking water from his umbrella. Piper was absent from the front desk, and a crowd of people rushed to him eager with questions. Questioning public. Oh, all odd. Alright, let me put my service on. Martin had so much to do still, but he couldn't just ignore these people's questions, although he wondered where Piper was. Alright. Service. There we go. Jot automatically increases each dice. Oh. 3 of any kind. Holy shit. We're keeping those results. Exceeding expectations. He efficiently replied to each of those gathered, and each departed satisfied with their answers. It hardly took any time. Their questions even reminded him of relevant policy he could include in the Erie report. One of the customers tossed him a little trinket in thanks. It was clearly under the 20 credit gift ethics threshold. If it was even worth anything, so he accepted. A lucky toad's foot? Okay. Alright. In Piper's place was a sign, soon to be home of the Housing Authority's new virtual office assistant. Martin shook his head, so they got to Piper too. Was anyone safe? Behind the counter, Martin noticed a little gift with his name on it. I had got to say goodbye, but thanks for always being willing to help me out. He opened the gift and found a lovely tie. Aww. Our girl gone. I wear this in your honor. Julie wasn't at her desk again. Martin worried if she hadn't been terminated as well. Martin opened his locker, not expecting anything except his lunchbox. Instead, he found a tie and an unsigned note as well. Saved you the trip to the fridge. Who was doing this? There were so few people left in the office. Oh, I got a bolo tie. Finish the Erie report. He had everything he needed. It was time to finish the report and finalize a decision. Martin had learned a lot about the situation, even if there might be still questions. First, he wrote up a summary of the OBO budget analysis. Arguing that closing the Erie will not save money. He tried to summarize his thoughts on the budget analysis, but found he couldn't grasp it well enough to say anything of substance. Next, he turned to writing up the results of his property inspection. Write favourably. He described the people and community at the Erie. He realised he didn't have much to say. Why not? Oh, right. I didn't get really well done on that. He reached a section of the other considerations. He thought about what to include. Titan Industries had ambitions to include it. Landlord had been pilfering funds. This would obviously paint the landlord badly. Had the bulk of the report completed, now it was time to write up his conclusions and finalise the decision. Which way would he go? Maintain it. He'd made a clear case for why the Erie was a net good. Even if VOA ultimately found a way to overrule him, he wasn't going to be one to evict Lucia, Bernard, or anyone else. Martin turned to writing the conclusion where he would lay out his rationale for all he had included. He considered what was the best style for summing it all up. All above three of any kind. Write a broad-minded conclusion. Let the pen speak. Write a policy-minded conclusion. Alright, change items. I need... communication. Alright, that's communication already. 4, 5. Alright. All above 3. Okay. I could re-roll the 6 a few times. Okay. This was a foolish idea. But we'll aim for it. There we go. 3 of any kind, all above 3. Let's go. Finalizing the Erie case, all above 3. 5, 5, and 5. Exceeding expectations. Martin felt confident he had written up a clear and concise conclusion on the Erie case. The report was finished and it was time to clock out. Management and VOA wanted it submitted. He took a deep breath and stamped the document with his adjudicant steel. He looked up. It was getting dark out. There had been no sign of Julia today, and with Piper gone, the office was sombre. The reporter had asked him for a copy of the report. It was one thing for him to leak everything verbally, but to provide the report itself was... Make a copy. It was already in deep. Why stop short now? Martin made his... I'm burning the place down with me. We're already gonna get fired for this shit. Might as well burn the place while I'm at it. Martin made his way to the office exit, dropping the finished report in his manager's box as he passed. He then stepped outside to the ever-present rain and returned home. Martin awoke, rose from bed and got dressed. Another day of work, assuming he still had a job. Martin looked in his dresser and found a good outfit for the day ahead. Let's be represented. Might as well have a good breakfast. We're facing the firing squad. Should really eat breakfast more often. Yep. Didn't see anything on the Erie case. Alright. Let's get represented. Red power tie. A government ID. We're all repped up. Let's go. Head to work. Martin headed into another rainy day and into the consequences of his choices. Martin had done what he could for Erie, and his report withstood for a time, but too many powerful forces were arrayed against it. Julia's reporter friend informed him that his editor had declined to publish, fearing backlash from the government. The residents were evicted and the building demolished. For his insubordination against VOA, Martin was quickly terminated. Martin found himself jobless, then moneyless, then homeless, but in the time he had delayed the closure, he had gotten to know the residents of the Erie more. They did what they could for one another under the harsh rule of the new government. One night, as he huddled around a campfire with Bernard and some of the others, Lucia approached looking ecstatic. She held up a small red tomato and said, "The first fruit from the vines we planted in the alley off Bell Street." Bernard carefully sliced it up, handing a sliver to each of those gathered. It was hardly a bite, but it was a reminder to Martin and each of them that life could still grow in the city, and that one day, with enough care, things might get better. 6B of 8, the smallest fruit. Exceeded expectation on 4 tasks, achieved expectations on 4 tasks, performed below expectations on 3 tasks. 23 out of 33, achieved expectations. A Bureaucrat's Judgment. This was a fun little game. Yeah. That was pretty good. I really liked I liked it. After everything's said and done, I'm probably gonna have to play it again. It's going straight in my play again folder. Yeah. Well, if you want to try the game for yourself and see if you can get a better ending than I did, then find in the link below find in the description below a link to the game page where you can download it. Yep. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Until then, peace and have a good one. See ya!